Hey, Sven here. You're sitting at breakfast in the morning, drinking a cup of coffee, and meanwhile, an automation is creating the reel of the day with your avatar for social media. And all of this happens without you having to do anything. We all know how that feels. Yes, we're short on time, and on the other hand, we feel the pressure to produce content. And if you want to take off with your reels on TikTok or Instagram but don't have the time, then in this video, I'll show you how you can automate it. I'm Sven, I'm an entrepreneur, and I've been working with quality and process optimization for over 33 years, not just in business, but in all areas of life. And much of what I can do today, I learned through experience and trial and error, and I know what really works. In my videos, I want to show you how you can use intelligent process automation profitably for yourself and your business. And if you'd like to do that and need support or have no idea where to start, just book a free call with me. You'll find the link below in the description. So let's get started. In my last video, I showed you how to create such an avatar using HeyGen. And let's just take another quick look at this avatar here. This is the original video that I used. And then I added the so-called ones. And what we want to take a look at today are two of them, namely this one and this one. So here, for example, I'm sitting in a chair in our room, which we call the Star Wars room, because it looks like a Star Wars spaceship, and it's in a 9:16 format, meaning I know it's portrait format and I want to use it for shorts or reels as well. And then we have another one here where I'm standing and I can identify them accordingly by their names. Or if I need this in any way for automation, then I can also process it accordingly using this ID, which is a unique number. So if I now want to create an automation, and with this, I've come up with the following idea for this video. I've created a Google Sheet here, and in this Google Sheet, I've simply written down a few football quotes that I think are quite suitable for making an entertaining video. What I want to create then is a script for it, a title, a description, and some hashtags that work well for the platform, and at the end, a status column. That means I'll just enter all these quotes here. I could also do that with ChatGPT. You could simply say, give me 100 football quotes, and then I wouldn't have to do anything maybe for the next few weeks or months, because in the end, for example, such a video would just be produced once a day. The Bluch automation is divided into 3 scenarios. Here is the first one. And what I do in this scenario is I read such a quote. Then I write the script, write the metadata for it, update it in the Google Sheet, and then I create the call in the HeyGen module to actually produce the video. We'll take a look at what happens next at the end. All right, let's take a quick look at the individual modules. So I've selected this Google Sheet here. Yes, it's located on the shared drive called Demo, and it's named Football Player Quotes. Then I have the sheet called Quotes, and from there, I retrieve an entry. After I've used that, I can set some avatar variables here if needed. But in my specific example, I don't need them right now. I've just copied them in here again to show you how you might use them. So I have this one ID, which is one avatar, and then I have the second ID, which is the other avatar. And now, for example, I could say on an even day, use one, and on an odd day, use the other. Then I take a JGBT module and write a script for this quote using GT 4.1 Mini for it. And then I wrote the prompt here, or rather, first I defined the role. You are a video script writer who creates funny, clever, and ironic video scripts about a specific topic. And then I specified the task here, and the task is simply, you receive a quote from a football player, write a video script based on this quote. The length of the video script should be around 15 to 20 seconds. And the quote must not be altered. It has to appear word for word in the script, and the name of the player should also be mentioned. I also want the whole thing to be generated in German. And here in the third message, I actually send this script over to JGPT so that it can process it accordingly. And with these curly brackets up here, I am in a way referencing this content. After that, I also use JGPT to generate the metadata for the video. Here, again, use 4.1 mini. Then I have the role. Yes, it's about content strategy for the different videos. There's still an O missing. You create the metadata for YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok. You get a script, and then you're supposed to analyze it and generate these metadata for the different platforms. It should be a relaxed and funny tone that grabs attention, and it's all in German. Then we need hashtags. I haven't generated them separately for each platform, but rather they should basically work well for all platforms. And then I want the answer back in a document, and down here I'll also provide the script for the generation, which should be processed accordingly. So, and after that, I enter all this data into the spreadsheet. That means I have the spreadsheet ID from the module at the beginning, sheet name, row number. I don't have to repeat all of that here. Then the script, the title, you can see it nicely here when it's expanded like this. Yes, title, description, and the hashtags, which are another array. And that's why if I want to combine these hashtags in this array, I need to use the join function and simply separate them with commas. That's how it works on the platforms. I can just say hashtag, comma, hashtag, and so on. Yes, and I set the status here to in progress, but meaning in Arbeit. And then I use all this data to generate the video. For that, I need this HeyGen module from Synergetic. And there I can. Let me just collapse this for a moment. There, I have various pieces of content that I first need to define. Down here, I have the title of the video, so I simply take the title that was generated here. Test mode is set to no. Captions, so do I want the subtitles to appear directly on the video? And then I need a so-called callback ID. I'll get back to what that's for in a moment. And then here, I have 1080 by 1920, so portrait format. If you're only using the free version of the API here, then you can only do a maximum of 720p, as it says down here. Okay, but the most important thing, for generating a video is found here under video inputs. Here I can, just to clarify again, I could add multiple items, which are essentially individual scenes. And in this way, I can assemble the video from various separate sequences. You might know this from our KI News Daily. There, each news item is basically its own sequence, plus an intro and an outro. In this case, it's just a single scene. So it's relatively simple, though also a bit confusing. What can I set up here? First of all, what do I actually want to have? Do I want to use an avatar or a talking photo? So I can also use a photo avatar there. So I want to have an avatar. So here I've already selected the Star Wars chair. That means this is the avatar where I'm sitting in this chair. And when I click on this combo box here, I get a list of all the corresponding avatars available in this system. As you can see, there are actually hundreds here. That's why it's always very important to give them a proper name so you can recognize them. Or, as I mentioned earlier, you can work with this ID. That means I could put the formula in here now. If I click on map here, I could say even day this one, odd day that one. So I get a bit of variety in there. Then I have the option to use scaling here, but I want to use it just as it was created, so 1-to-1. Then you can also set the avatar style here. For example, I could put it into a circle, like my video down in the corner right now. Or if I click on close up, then it actually zooms in a bit more. I'll just keep it normal here for now. The offset, I can change the position of the avatar within this video frame. Meeting, this is basically whether I want to blur any background. in some way. Then if I use a circle, I can specify the color for this circle here. And then comes the next part, which is the voice. And with the voice, it's like this. I provide a text. So I could also provide you with an audio file, or I could pass it as silence. For example, if I have an intro that just shows an image. In my case, I'm passing the text, specifically this one here. So we're using this from JGBT. And here as well, I can select the voice ID again. And what I've used here is not my own voice coming from this avatar, but rather the voice I generated with 11 labs. And that's simply because the quality is significantly better. So I can select it here just the same. Then for a video like this, the normal speed is a bit too slow for me. That means I increase the speed here by 10%, so to 1.1. Pitch doesn't have any function here. And unfortunately, I also can't use this voice emotion feature, which would actually be really interesting. For that, you need special voices that are designed for it. Yes, and if I have a background, meaning if I have, for example, a transparent avatar, then I could set a color or even an image or even a video as the background. And you can check out how it looks with an image in our KI News Daily, where we always release a summary on Sundays. There you can see that a separate background is generated for each message, which is then actually swapped out dynamically here. Yes, and we've already shown the other things, but what we still need is the so-called callback ID. And now you have to imagine the following. When I start generating the video, it first runs on the HeyGen platform. And that can take, I don't know, 5 minutes, 10 minutes. Depending on how much traffic there is at the moment and how long your video is, it can take forever. That means you can't just wait here in the scenario until the video is finished and then somehow continue working. Instead, you have to wait for a callback from the HeyGen platform. Specifically, this platform calls a webhook. You know this from various other videos, but I'll show it again in the second scenario. And give this webhook an ID, which I can specify here. And if I'm only making one type of video, then it doesn't matter at all. I just receive this call and process the video that was generated. But here I need to distinguish between different video generations. So I've simply called this one football quotes. And because I want to reuse the data from this Google Sheet later for the upload, I also include the row number here. That is the row from the Google Sheet, simply separated by a colon. I just did this completely arbitrarily because then during processing, I can simply split it at the colon and then I have the row number. Okay, we'll see in a moment how this actually works in practice. But let's move on to the next scenario, namely the recipient. If I want to be notified by HeyGen that a new video is ready, then I need this Watch New Videos module here. And when I set up this module, I always use the same webhook here. That's what I do. Or I add a different webhook here, which then also uses my corresponding connection to HeyGen, and then I can set which events I want to receive. And since it's of course important to know if a video generation has failed, I also check for fail here. And when the webhook is triggered, I first distinguish here whether the event type was avatar video success, so equal to that, or whether it was a fail. And if it was a fail, I simply send myself an email and say, okay, something went wrong. In the case of success, I now use the callback ID to determine which path I call here. And yes, I have different paths here. For example, our AI Briefing Weekly, which is the weekend video that comes out every Sunday. And that one has KI Briefing Weekly as its callback ID. And now for our soccer scenario, I entered football quotes and simply said, this callback ID contains football quotes. And then I call the corresponding sub-scenario to finally process this video and how these call a sub-scenario functions work. I actually made a video about that recently. Check it out. There it's explained in detail how these scenario inputs and these parameters work. And what you need to know here is that I pass the URL to the subordinate video scenario, and I also pass the row ID. And as you know, I used this callback ID :row ID format here. So I simply split it at the colon and then use the second element of the resulting array. And then I don't wait for the scenario to finish. I just call it from here. Let's also take a look at the third scenario. What do we see here? First of all, down here in these input scenarios, we have these two parameters, the video URL and the sheet's row ID. Then we download the video using the URL we've received. And these past parameters, we can find them here within the curly brackets. As I said, you can find out how this works in another video. Then we read from our Google Sheet. Of course, it's the same document again. And using the provided row ID, we read all the data from columns A to F. Next, we upload everything to YouTube using our YouTube connection with the title, the downloaded file here, the category, the status, the description, and the hashtags that we've provided here. Then we upload everything to Instagram, where I use the URL directly. Here too, I have to select the appropriate page again. And since there's only one field, I combine the description and hashtags here. And finally, in the document, I simply set the status to posted. And since TikTok doesn't allow me to upload a video automatically without additional tools that cost 40 euros a month, I came up with the following solution. I simply send myself an email, copy the link along with the description and hashtags into the email. And then when I receive this email, I can just post it manually on TikTok. All right, and then okay, plus. So now I'll switch to this overview mode here as well. And then we'll just let the whole thing run. Read the quote. Andy Miller. Here we have both the script, the metadata, and then we started the creation process, and now we go to the platform. There we can already see that the generation is now running. And as soon as the generation is complete, our subsequent scenarios will be triggered. So for now, I'll pause. Now we can see that the generation is finished. The video ended up being 22 seconds long. And now let's just take a look at it. Let's see what I have to say, or rather what my avatar has to say. Andy Müller says, Milan or Madrid? The main thing is Italy. Yeah, Andy. That almost sounds like you always forget the capital when it comes to the Italy quiz. But hey, as long as there's pasta and pizza, right? Maybe what he really means is, whether it's Milan or Madrid, the main thing is Italy. The main thing is a vacation. Soccer stars who mix up geography, we love you. Okay, so now let's take a look at what happened as a result of this generation. Now the video generation is complete, and as you can already see here, the scenario has also finished running. That means we've received success here. As event data, we can take another look at that as well. These football quotes :2, so that was line 2, and here is the URL for the video. So the whole thing went into the success path, followed this route here, and that's why it started this sub-scenario accordingly. And we're going to take a look at that now as well. It's actually still running. Here we saw download video, then the data was read here. The YouTube video has obviously already been uploaded, and at the moment, it's still uploading the Instagram reel. And that has now also been completed. The status in The Google Sheet was updated. The email was sent. And in theory, both videos should now be visible on the two platforms. Let's take a look at YouTube. Yes, the video is visible here. Let's delete it right away. Now over to Instagram. Let's check it out. Unfortunately, with Instagram, my Lumen always somehow turns off the camera. No idea why that happens. That's why you can't see it anymore now. But we were pretty much done anyway. One more thing. Let's go over to the email. And here in the email, I've now also received this message, TikTok video. Now I could actually download the video here. That means I just click on it here. Then I can download it here. And then I simply take this text, go to my TikTok, upload it directly there, and copy everything in. And maybe I'll actually get lucky and, like in this one video here, get 142,000 views. That would, of course, be a great story. So I think we've pretty much covered everything that's relevant. That means from the avatar with automation all the way to the uploaded video, you've now seen how it works. And in the future, you'll be sitting at the breakfast table knowing that at that very moment, your content is being produced. Bye. See you next time.